everybody said, no, we're not putting our cars on the internet. And now I think, this AI thing is not really going away. So maybe we should kind of start taking it serious. To me, it's like hiring an intern, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I always say, like, AI is really bad software today, but it's great people. And if you treat it like a person and you collaborate with it, outcomes are so much better. I watched it like go to a website, fill out the form, and I'm like, oh boy, like everything's gonna change. That's where I can have AI do the redundant tasks that people don't want to do already and do those interactions far cheaper, more consistently, never call in sick, right? And never forget.
Welcome back to another episode of the Seezoned Crew, Season 2. We're on the road at NADA in Las Vegas, and we're super excited to be here. We have a pair of really cool guests. Our first is Todd Smith from Core AI and the author of The Intelligent Dealership. Todd has always been a great mind around AI and in the data field, and we're super honored to have him with us today. And we'll get started with that first. Honestly, I've been following you, hearing everything that you've been saying before the show, at the show. Your NADA AI survival guide was like circulated across the company. We're all been like following up on what you've been doing. Can you just give us a little bit of intro to the people who don't know you and just tell us how your NADA has been so far?
Yeah, Todd Smith, CEO of Core AI, founder. I've spent my life in automotive. I started a couple other tech companies, also was a dealer. So I've kind of spread the whole breadth of the industry, which has been great. And honestly, this has been an amazing NADA so far. I feel like Vegas is always a good show, especially after the last year snowstorm of New Orleans and getting kind of locked in my hotel room and scavenging food to make sure because no trucks could get over the bridges.
Wow.
So I went all survival mode. Thank God I've watched like Alone a couple seasons of that. So I felt really good and energized. But yeah, this show's been amazing so far.
So that's why you needed a survival guide for this year.
You always have to have a survival guide, and especially in the age of AI, right? Especially this world we're heading into with so much unknown still.
And what have you been seeing at the show? Where do you think AI is standing right now? What do you think is what's emerging? What trends are you seeing that are pretty interesting right now?
I think we're finally seeing that people are going to take it serious.
Okay.
Think about it almost like the beginning of the internet.
Yeah.
Everybody said, no, we're not putting our cars on the internet. And now I think, this AI thing is not really going away. So maybe we should kind of start taking it serious. And I'm also seeing experimentation. And I think that's the key with this, right? AI is not a product you just plug in. You know, it takes experimentation, right? To build a good agentic agent, as you know, right? You have to go back and forth. And to me, it's like hiring an intern, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I always say, like, AI is really bad software today, but it's great people. And if you treat it like a person and you collaborate with it, outcomes are so much better. And I think dealers are beginning to realize that versus like, and this I think has been probably 26 years in the making of, we have a judge software like SaaS. We put it in that frame. Like I'm just gonna plug it in, the magic happens. And that's not just how AI works. And I think dealers are finally realizing they have to change the framework of how they're approaching these types of new tools. And that's what I'm seeing today.
That's so interesting you talk about experimentation. Do you think there are certain functions of a dealership that are gonna benefit from this before others?
Well, look, I always say people will lean into the sales and service workflows first because moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
Selling more cars, servicing more cars. But I've definitely focused more trying to help dealers turn it inwards, right? Operational efficiency to me is the last horizon.
Yeah.
The dealer who wins the efficiency game wins everything. Because think about profitability, right? Average dealer maybe runs at 3%. What happens if you move it to 6, 9, 12, 15, 20? That has to be turned in. That lens, you want to turn AI inwards. And for me, my experiment about a year ago was how can I 10x myself and then 10x what we're doing at our company at Core, and before we were even trying to give stuff out to the dealers. And I think if dealers take that philosophy, not just looking at it to sell more cars, service more cars, but how do we be more operationally efficient? And I think another area is back office. I think it's an untouched, explored, but high risk area, especially with, you make data entry errors, they cost you money. So AI is, I think, going to help smooth that out. And I think back office is going to explode, especially in an agentic world.
So it's super interesting because you talk about it in a little bit in your survival guide. Where do you think there are areas that a dealer should be exploring that have high leverage and being able to make an impact?
Well, again, I like the back office stuff, and I don't see a lot of it here. But I look at the back office stuff because you know what? AI that's touching customers and it's not fully baked has inherent issues. So I just spoke at another event, and one of the VPs at Toyota asked me this question. He said, well, we had a problem with customers. A customer who went to an agentic agent, had a conversation. The agent said, you need to come in for your 5,000 mile service.
Yeah.
The problem with that, she was driving a hybrid. There is no 5,000 mile service.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So anything to me, when you're using AI touching consumers, we have to be very careful. And this is why I think the experimentation and risk is so much easier internally. If Jan, your controller, and it doesn't work right the first shot, you take a second shot. It didn't hurt the brand's reputation. Doesn't steer a customer away from you. That's why I'm very much engaged on the internal operational stuff.
Very interesting. And just to the example that you just gave us, is that because the dealership doesn't have the right data? And how important is the cleanliness of the data for AI to be efficient?
Well,
I mean, we're
you
talking
know that you have my love language right here at data. So, and to me, data is the heart of all of this, right? And you build agentic tools, right? So you know the key that it has to run on clean and organized data.
Yeah.
And then if you can enhance the data, put more, to me, meat on the bone around the data, that's when it gets incredibly valuable. It makes these tools far more rich and capable versus narrow. And I think dealers who try to tie AI directly to the DMS data, which is clunky, full of duplicates, are ultimately going to have far more problems. To me, you're accelerating the problems because AI is a great accelerant. So it's like gas, but you pour it on a bad fire, it's going to spread like crazy. And to me, you don't want those bad interactions. What happens if the husband owns the car, but the wife brings it in, and now the AI is talking to the wife as if she's the husband? All that can happen without organized data. So to me, data is foundational. And I think any dealer who wants to explore AI first has to get their data house in order. And that goes through a process, right? It's data organization, then it's, to me, data hygiene, then it's usually data enhancement, right? There's a linear process there that I think smart dealers and groups are now following.
Very interesting. Yeah. And when you obviously have a lot of experience in this field. Where do you think dealerships need the most help these days, or where do you usually start?
Education. Look, I always say, start at the very beginning, right? First principles. I don't need to just bolt more onto the monster, right? I don't need more disparate systems. I need to now think, and I think everything through workflow first, right? So we break everything down to a white piece of paper. If we were going to build a really good high interactive consumer experience, if we're having to climb over old technology to do it and build workarounds, what are the outcomes? And we should stop doing that. We should say, no, blank piece of paper. In an agentic AI world, we can build things far more efficiently and quicker. So let's start there versus just trying to pile stuff on the old dump, I call it, right? Of disconnected misfit toys.
No, I completely understand what you're saying. But sometimes there might be some resistance, right? Is it because there's a fear that AI might be replacing jobs, or what are some reasons why there's some resistance to maybe growing that education?
Let's be honest, right? AI will replace jobs, but before it gets to the jobs, let's break what a job is.
Yeah.
A job is a series of workflows.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like your job, these are your duties. These are each one of these workflows. And AI will start picking those workflows and helping you. So before AI eliminates the job role, AI is going to accelerate the job role. And I think that's the real magic here, where I can have AI do the redundant tasks that people don't want to do already and do those interactions far cheaper, more consistently, never call in sick, right? And never forget. And also all the derivative data that is now spawned off those interactions accelerates the intelligence of that workflow. So to me, I look at jobs as just a series of 10, 20, 15, 20 workflows. Yeah. And AI will start picking those far before I would ever worry about an actual job being eliminated.
Yeah.
So I look at things, and I look at a dealership at 265 workflows. There's probably about 265 unique flows to operate a franchise dealership. Auto groups are a little bit more because you have an extra layer of inner group communication, things like that. But I look at a dealership, that's all it is. It's just workflows. And I'm a big believer of, I don't know if you ever read the book by Michael Gerber called E-Myth.
Yeah.
Okay, one of my favorite books, written probably 15, 20 years ago. And it was like, the system is the solution. Think everything from system first. And to me, again, system's a workflow.
Yeah.
That's why McDonald's is so successful, right? Consistency. And car dealers are more personality driven than system driven in almost every instance. I have a great used car manager. He leaves, my used car department falls apart.
Yeah.
Right? When we have these things,
You
because we're not truly system driven, and AI is going to accelerate us to become far more system driven.
And you say that, you give an example of like having a certain manager in a certain place, and like my impression is AI can't take responsibility. You still need humans to take that responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you talk about these workflows. When you take away some of the more mundane ones, they can then focus on experience, right? So this opens up time and opportunity. And when we look at what the outcome is going to be, it's probably, do you think it'll be like more quality? It'll be higher quality experiences and not just less quantity of jobs, right? So I feel like the output improves rather than the quantity of jobs decreases.
Absolutely.
Do you see that relationship between quality and the amount of work that's being done?
Absolute first path of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think until people are super comfortable with just a fully AI like experience, but even look at people leaning into like ChatGPT or Claude trying to buy a car.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't like the typical in-store 5-hour experience. And when all that can be brought to us, I almost think we're like Wall-E on those little chairs, like going around with the sippy machines, right? Like we're all gonna be just like, hey, AI, go do this for me. Go buy me a car now.
Yeah,
or,
but
hey.
I see that image in my head sometimes. I swear to I completely relate to what you're saying.
It's like mind blowing to me, because as soon as I saw it was October 22 when I saw computer use, Anthropic, right? And I watched it like go to a website, fill out the form, and I'm like, oh boy, like everything's gonna change. That's what inspired me to write my book, was that watching that demo with the Anthropic guys, and I'm like, everything's gonna change right now. That I can just naturally go and start to like have a system that's going to go do work for me and bring it back. I was so inspired.
I mean, shameless like self promo, but did you take a look at Pi, our technology showcase? Because it's exactly that.
Yeah,
We'd really love to show it to you, by the way, after
absolutely.
the podcast. So what do you think are the biggest like stumbling blocks that dealers are having these days to be able to explore that clean data AI world?
Really good question. I think it still comes back to fear of change.
Okay.
I think it comes back to trying to put AI in a SaaS box. Okay. And I think dealers are so busy trying to run their business that just the educational side, it's hard. When you're in there grinding every day, trying to sell cars, your service drive is full, you have an angry customer, you play fireman all the time in this business. So it's hard to extend past that. But this is where dealers have to find the calm. And to me, find the calm, do the education, do the experimentations, look at AI different,
100%.
Collaborate with it. I think these are like, again, it's just changing the game a little bit. And I think if you do that, mass change organizationally is right there.
So if you think if a dealership like literally closed their eyes for 5 years and did nothing, and then they opened their eyes, what would they see? Where would they have fallen behind the most?
There is no dealership. It's done.
Yeah.
I don't think you live 5 years without fully embracing an AI application. I just don't think you're going to be competitive. Not even close.
Interesting. No, we're the AI company, so I think we agree with you. So for dealers who didn't attend NADA this year, what do you think they missed out on the most?
Look, one is just seeing what's going on in the space right now. When you're living in the dealership, it's hard to get you need to get out of that environment. And look, you don't have to just attend an NADA. Go to CES, right? Go somewhere. Yeah. Go to an AI conference, right? Go to SaaStr. Like, go somewhere and start to see like how this technology is impacting businesses. And smart people go, oh, I could see using that in our place. The guy, if you went to the other, I think it's maybe this hall, there's a robot rolling around with oil cans on it, right? and they made them for service. Well, trust me, no one in auto woke up and said, let's build a robot for service. That was built in another industry, hospitals. And then it was like somebody said, we should do that in the car business
100%.
to move so our technicians aren't moving from the parts counter to the car 400 times a day, wasting 18 or 32 minutes. We'll let the AI robot do it with a smile. So I think when we look outside our industry, it's also an amazing reflection where there's great technology out there that we can apply. So I tell every dealer, like, get out of your comfort zone. And maybe you don't want to get on planes all the time, but get on a plane at least once or twice a year. Go experience something, especially technologically, that inspires you.
That's awesome. You know, we had someone come and ask us if they could use our DMS in the aviation industry. So yeah, like you just said, you pull some technology from one industry into another. So yeah, very interesting stuff. So what is your biggest takeaway from NADA this year? What did you see that felt was truly practical maybe and can change, is going to be the big thing of 2026?
Look, I'm very excited with what you guys are doing. I feel like, yes, so I'm unique that I will say, and I've sent dealers this way because, again, what you're doing is different. And I love that. And the blend with AI into it, also a little bit different, and your tack to it. So definitely appreciate what you guys are doing. And look, I'm excited to be here. Always. This is my first NADA. You'll laugh. I was probably less than, I think it was 15. So I'll be 54 next month.
Oh my God.
So a long time I've been coming to these things. And Lee Iacocca was the keynote.
No way.
Yeah. So it was here in Vegas. So this is how long I've been coming. I know it's kind of crazy to think that. And I've seen everything from NADA full of car washes, right? To the birth of the internet. To now, this is the first, I think, year I'm going to put in my little journal. 2026 will be the real, like, AI is like here, like fully here.
That's crazy.
And so super excited to just be a part of it, and obviously see all my friends as well.
Todd, it's been an honor having you. Thank you so much for joining us for our podcast today with Todd Smith. Please go ahead, like and subscribe. Leave us a comment down below. Ask us a few questions. We're more than happy to try to focus our topics in our upcoming podcasts around some of your suggestions. And thank you so much for making it all this way if you're still watching us here at the end. And see you next time.